The planet Virgon 6 is about to implode. As the planet's core consisted of dark matter, valuable as Starship Fuel, it was mined hollow and has now reached a breaking point. Soon it will no longer exist, and all life on the planet will die. The Planet Express crew is off to rescue all the innocent animal species that call Virgon 6 home. While en route, Fry, Bender, and Leela encounter Zap Brannigan, a famous starship captain representing the Democratic Order of Planets, along with his second, Lieutenant Kif Croker. Zap is initially impressed by Leela's skills as a captain, but when he learns of their mission, he cites dupe regulations forbidding interference with undeveloped worlds and throws them in the brig. At Zap's instruction, Kif releases Leela so that Zap can flirt with her, but when she rebuffs his advances, he breaks down in tears. Leela attempts to comfort him, and the next thing she knows, they're in bed together. Zap lets the Planet Express crew go, bragging that soon Leela will return to make love to him again. And so the trio arrive on Virgon 6 to complete their mission. Unexpectedly, they encounter a small creature of unknown species. Leela takes him aboard, naming him Nibbler. But time is running out, the planet will soon implode and the ship is out of fuel. Leela is forced to call Zap and beg him for rescue, but when he demands they leave Nibbler behind, she tells him what she really thinks of him and hangs up. Just then, when all hope seems lost, they discover that Nibbler defecates dark matter. There is just enough to refill the engine and make it home. Despite the day's setbacks, Leela is happy to have found a cute new pet. Welcome to Space Podcast 3000, where the future is in the past.
Well, Benda's antenna healed nicely.
Yeah, it certainly did. I don't know how they pulled that off, but...
Maybe they welded it.
Yeah, welded it or just smoothed it in there.
Although this episode was actually really interesting because, we've seen mostly mundane situations up to this point. This was really the first time that we got a big sci-fi concept as an episode premise.
Yeah, I think this is probably the best episode so far. This is like the first because I was watching this one person on Twitter who had been like encouraged to watch Futurama, and they're getting ready to like quit watching by like 3 episodes. And someone said just keep going. Then by episode 4, they're like, okay, I need to keep watching this show. So this is the episode that won them over.
See, I would agree with you there because it is a very funny episode, but the whole Zap plot just makes me feel really uncomfortable and gross while watching it. It bad vibes.
Which I'm sure is kind of the point, because like Zap Brannigan is not a nice person. He is supposed to be this like stuck-up jerk that's just so full of himself that he has always been his character. And they did kind of make him a lot more comedic later on. They made him more of a fool. Which he is kind of a pathetic loser, but this is the kind of people you encounter. You encounter people that have, for whatever reason, have a really high purpose, have a really high place of power that are just completely unqualified for it, but for whatever reason, it always works out for them. And that's what's so frustrating about these kind of people. And those people exist.
Yeah.
It's more what he does with Leela and just his whole sexual advances, and it's so skeezy, and I really don't like it.
Yeah, unfortunately, there really are people out there who will take advantage of people's pity just to get a fuck.
Yeah, exactly. It hits way too close to home.
Which, I mean, I guess kudos to the writers for picking something that is relatable for a lot of people. Like that, this kind of stuff happens. And there's people like that. That's like Zap Brannigan he's well known for his one-liners, but he's just an interestingly well-written character.
He's super gross and just, yeah, I love the character, especially what they do with him later, but in this episode he just makes me very uncomfortable.
We are all Cliff in this situation. I mean,
Kif.
Yeah.
Kif. I love Kif.
Kif is way more sarcastic in this episode than he is in all of his future appearances. I mean, later he's just...
Kif is a bit like if Smithers hated Mr. Burns.
Yeah, but the difference is, like in later episodes, Kif is much more put upon and just he'll sigh, but he goes along with everything. And in this episode, he's going along with everything, but he's also throwing out a lot of the snark that's not so much there later. I don't know what changed.
He's a lot more passive-aggressive here than he is later on.
Yeah. Although on that subject, should we talk about some of the really good jokes in this episode? Like Fry's line about how if you rule out every guy with a lizard tongue or a low IQ or an explosive violent temper, that just cracks me up.
Well, explosive violent temper, that's probably a good red flag.
Yeah, that is the reddest of red flags.
The first two are fine.
Why wouldn't you go for a lizard tongue? I could think of many good reasons for a lizard tongue.
I know people who are into that. Like, I know several people who are straight up would be into this guy.
But it does work as a great... it is really kind of an obvious joke. It's like, you have to be more open-minded. It's like, he has oh my god, he has a lizard tongue. It's like, just immediately throwing it back at her. But yeah.
Yeah, the hypocrisy of it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's also Bender mentioning a good place to meet people is a saucy puppet show. What saucy puppet shows even exist besides, I don't know, Avenue Q?
What's that other movie? Meet the Feebles?
I mean, it's been a whole millennium since then. Maybe saucy puppet shows are even more popular.
Maybe. Fair. But yeah, on the topic of Bender mentioning Gaydar. This was actually the first time I had heard of Gaydar.
Really? Because that's
this episode back in 1999 or 2000.
By then, at least by then, I'm pretty sure it was already a common phrase. I mean, I really don't like this joke, but that's neither here nor there. I just think they go on with it a bit too long.
Well, the fact that he literally has a physical Gaydar, which I think that kind of earns the joke, because. Like either you say you have Gaydar and like that's just like a thing people say, but no, he literally has a physical piece of equipment that is a Gaydar.
Yeah, but how would that even work?
It's sci-fi logic. It's Futurama. You're asking how Gaydar works for a joke when they have a planet that's filled with dark matter.
Fair.
Plus, it can also tell if you're into musical theater.
Yeah, true.
What other things can it detect?
Actually, they're in the club. I really like that whole scene just because I love the idea of using retro future as retro fashion.
Yeah, that was very much the retro-futuristic look of the things. Like, that's what they thought the future would be like back in 1960. That's what people thought the future would be like in 2020.
It's the past's vision of the future, which here in the future
is the past's version of the... Yeah, so it's just like there's 6 different layers of this meta.
And then the club also has the background gag of the 10-drink minimum sign. People are going to be coming out of there completely smashed.
I just love the name of the place, the Hip Joint.
Yeah, that's great. The hip bone's connected to... I don't know what bone. I'm not a skeleton doctor.
The hip bone's connected to the leg bone.
I mean, I know that the neck bone's connected to the neck bone, and that's connected to the neck bone, and that's
the head bone's connected to the leg bone, and wait.
And the 21st century girl who asked for, I remember when those cyborgs enslaved humanity? Well, it's 2021 now, which means, we've got a time limit of, 79 years now?
Well, looking at Google, and they maybe not cyborgs, but androids, good.
And those, police robot dog things.
Oh, jeez, those.
Ugh.
Did you see that was the very first dog to get a 0 rating from Dog Rates?
That's valid. I can agree with that.
That is fair.
And then Zoidberg falling for the actual lobster in the fish tank is great.
Well, he earned it. He can't drink his he can't drink his Bloody Mary.
Poor guy.
They should provide straws for species that don't have conventional hands.
Right? Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, you'd think they would.
We have a bit of, I don't know if it's foreshadowing here, but Leela mentioning that she's into a guy as long as has less than 5 eyes.
Do you mean, what's his name? Alcazar?
Yeah, way in the later episodes.
Yeah, I was thinking of that one too.
But on the subject of, various stuff, we also have first established dark matter as Starship Fuel here, which I don't think this is how dark matter behaves the way it's depicted here.
No, but it could be how the way the starship behaves. I do love the fact I do love the fact that it weighs so much. They make a lot of good jokes with that.
Fair.
Yeah.
But even just the way they deliver it is like 1 pound weighs 10,000 pounds. Like, wait, if it's a pound, then how? Obviously, they're talking about like kilograms, which is usually a measure of mass, not weight.
I hear that line, and I feel like Limmy thinking about steel and feathers.
Right? Yeah.
But steel's heavier than feathers.
Dark matter's heavier than steel.
It's heavier than tungsten. It's heavier than depleted uranium.
It being Nibbler's poop is kind of funny because as someone who has cats, poop can get heavy.
Honestly, the thing about Nibbler pooping dark matter is it feels a bit like an ass pull to me, like a Deus Ex Machina. I mean,
True.
it does let Leela have a moral victory over Zap, which does make it a satisfying way to end the episode, but I don't know, it just comes out of nowhere, and I mean, I guess they do enough with it in later episodes that it's warranted, but here it just, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I felt like it was warranted. I mean, the fact that, and you do kind of see how the Democratic Order of Planets is just this really cynical view on just government in general. That they're fully willing to mine out this planet for the resources, but when it comes time to actually help the natives, they're like, screw them. Not only just screw them. It's illegal to interfere.
Yeah, don't interfere with this planet, but we're gonna mine this planet hollow. I didn't realize the dupe was run by congressional Republicans.
Which is ironic because it's the Democratic Order of Planet, but whatever. It's run by a bunch of dupes, really. I'm sure that was an intentional pun on their part.
I mean, at this point, what's the difference?
Yeah, how is one neoliberal all that different from another? But let's not get too blatant in here. Zap did have some really good one-liners in this episode, despite just being uncomfortable on the whole. Like, in the game of chess, you can never let your adversary see your pieces.
This is a fucking great interesting.
I mean, maybe if you're playing Stratego.
Smart kid being confused how he's losing, me who's been eating his chess pieces while he's not looking.
And just the fact that he really does come off as such an asshole who cares nothing about the fact that he's willing to just expend his guys to defeat the killbots, which is like the worst possible way of defeating them.
That is, I think, his character establishing moment, just sacrificing hundreds or thousands of his own people just to shut these things down. I mean, if he hadn't already been firmly established as incompetent from the prior scene, he is now.
They later on push him more into the incompetence, not just like maliciously incompetent. In the later episodes, he is incompetent, more humorously so. This one, he just seems freaking evil. He's just evilly he's just evilly ignorant, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, on that subject, there's the whole "this time we are sure she's a woman," right? line, which, yeah, I hear that and I just go, yikes!
It could just be a alien that has no, I don't know.
I don't know. It just, I might just be overly sensitive to this, but
well, really you have to think about these jokes as it's a throwaway line. It's the kind of thing that he would be bothered by.
It's a throwaway line, but this sort of thing is just the background radiation of my life.
Yeah, like, even if it's, supposed to reference aliens and their weird biology, yeah, it still has bad implications regardless of intentions.
Yes, but also keep in mind, this is the bad guy saying it.
That only really goes so far as a justification, but I do get what you're saying.
This is the kind of guy that he's always bragging about his velour, which for him, I'm sure it's the synthetic polyester velour.
Probably.
Not the nice natural cotton velour, which wouldn't be that much better, but
sometimes things that are more expensive are worse.
True. Oh, there's a Zap and Fry's exchange the whole, it was simply a matter of outsmarting them, and Fry just going, I never would have thought of that.
The fact that he gets his thing boxed up as a swan later.
Yes.
Yeah, that's cute.
Just a tiny little background joke.
Also, Zap's formal shorts. What? How do you have formal shorts?
He's Zap Brannigan. He can do whatever he wants.
They don't have pants normally, so I guess shorts are formal.
I guess, but like, what are formal shorts? Just anything that isn't jorts?
Perhaps.
Do you think he chose the uniform for his men, specifically?
I would not be surprised.
Just kind of a running gag of him just constantly mispronouncing stuff.
Yes.
I can relate, though. English is, even as a native speaker, English is not the easiest thing.
Well, because champagne is not an English word, it's a French word.
I mean, I myself have, in the past, had many words that I would consistently mispronounce because I'd only ever read it and never heard it spoken out loud. For example, for years, I didn't know the pronunciation of leitmotif.
For the longest time, I didn't even realize there was an extra I in auxiliary. I would say auxiliary.
I mean, I've heard that particular mispronunciation a lot, but... Also, can we talk about how Zap has freaking statues of himself as Atlas holding up his bedroom ceiling?
Yeah,
Talk about ego.
He has that giant picture of himself on the wall. Of course he has the ego. Yeah, and of course this character was originally written for Phil Hartman.
He is very much Narcissus at the pond.
Yep.
So of course we also have the introduction of Nibbler.
Yes, I like Nibbler.
Oh, I love Nibbler. Nibbler's so... he's like so scientifically designed to be so cute.
They really do a lot with him.
Yeah, because, like, it feels kind of a throwaway, but they do use him a lot.
Knowing how the series develops, it's amazing that, like, this kind of seemed like a throwaway, but, like, they kind of planned this from the start, just how important this character is going to be.
Honestly, all of the Virgon 6 animals are great. Like, there's some fantastic jokes, like the windy shrimp just blowing Fry away.
I love the mimic. I love the mimic.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, the four-legged mimic copying Leela and Fry just throwing the net over the wrong one. And they both have the most unamused expressions.
But it's so clearly not... not even just, like, confused, it's just, really? You couldn't tell the difference between the two.
Yeah, there's even more jokes that you really can't see unless you pause the episode, but one I did do remember was Molotov cockatoo.
Yes. There was also the Sharktopus, the Hermaflamingos, and a Gretchen mole, which is... I wonder if that's a reference to the actress.
Possibly. I wouldn't be surprised.
And then when they put Nibbler in the cargo bay with the other animals, the four-legged mimic in the background is mimicking him.
Right. I was trying to find the mimic, and I didn't know what to look for.
Because it was black.
I guess that's the point.
Or also, like, going back to Zap's ship for a moment, there was the invisible Zappy prison door. What's the point of that? A metal door works fine.
Because it's the future.
It's the future. The future.
Yeah, but it's like what? Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Which is a lot of this show in a nutshell. It's like they have this. It's the future for the purpose of advance, for the purpose of progress, and not necessarily when things just work perfectly fine on their own.
And then in the prison cell, there's the whole, bend the hatch off this steam pipe. No good, it's full of steam. And then we get back to them later relaxing like they're in a sauna. And I have a question.
Where'd they get the towels?
Where did they get those towels?
I don't know, maybe they asked for them?
Right? I wouldn't be surprised. They're like, can we get some towels? Yeah, sure. They don't pay me enough for this.
And they just unlock the force field, give them the towels, and lock it back up.
There's also, like, my favorite joke in the episode is at the very end when Leela looks through the binoculars and she's just holding up a single eye.
And, like, switching between the two. It's like,
yeah. It's such a subtle little thing, but it's such a great detail. I love it.
Don't run fast. I don't have good depth perception.
One weird thing I noticed is at the beginning of the episode, Zap gives the date as like Stardate 3000.3, which I believe if we go based on the Stardate system first established in Star Trek, that's January 3rd, which is way too early because the first episode was on New Year's Eve, and then iRoommate established that at least a week has passed, so unless this takes place like before iRoommate, that doesn't make any sense. Of course, then the end of the episode, Kif clarifies that it's actually April 13th, so it's quite possible that Zap's just an idiot.
It could be 3000.3 in the sense that it's almost one third of the way through the year 3000, which would be about April 14th.
Except, like, that's not how the Stardate works, But
I know, but if it that they may not necessarily be the same way that Stardate works in Star Trek as Futurama.
I think he's just stupid.
I do have one weird question. Why is everyone so weirded out by Leela's eye, or even the guy's lizard tongue? Like, aliens and whatnot are normalized. We spent a whole episode establishing that sort of thing. Why is her eye an issue?
Because she's a butterface? I don't know.
I mean, except we know that she's, at least judging based on, like, Zap and Fry, we know that she's reasonably attractive, outside of the eye. So I don't get why the eye is such a big deal.
For some people, it's just that's what it is. There's one small thing about it that just puts people off, and for her, it's her giant Cyclops eye.
I guess, but like we also see in a later episode that she was bullied for it as a kid, and it's just such a widespread thing that everyone takes issue with her eye when there's so many other weirder aliens.
Well, even in the year 3000, prejudices are still a thing.
I don't know. It seems weird to me.
And even down to the fact that this is established in later, is she's not an alien, she's a mutant, but they feel as she'd be better off if people think she's an alien. Because mutants are just completely shunned from society, even worse than aliens.
No, I know. It just that's not really the point, but I get it.
Yeah, it's not really representing the eye itself literally. It's, in general, just representing, being different, whether that be physical difference or neurological differences, and so on.
Oh, don't even get me started on what people do with people who neurologically different, with like autism and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's even in the future, there's going to be prejudices and things, and that's just what Leela has to do with that kind of stuff. And of course, she does have kind of high standards anyway. She's not perfect. She rejects a guy based on his lizard tongue as well. So who's she to talk?
That's true, but we already kind of covered that. One thing I do want to touch on is apparently the original concept for Zap Brannigan as a character was just asking, what if the captain of the Enterprise wasn't James Kirk, but William Shatner? And you can definitely see it in the way he's characterized, particularly like his speech patterns.
Yeah, which is really kind of like several layers of meta, because it was supposed to be kind of Phil Hartman doing William Shatner, but now it's whoever they got doing Phil Hartman doing
Billy West.
Yeah, it's Billy West doing Phil Hartman doing William Shatner.
It's Shatner's all the way down.
I really need to watch Star Trek. I have no idea how I haven't.
Well, most representations of Shatner are very much exaggerated compared to his actual portrayal in the series, so...
Yeah, and then, of course, we have him playing himself in a later episode.
Right.
Oh, yeah. One bit of trivia that I remember reading is the energy being in the club. That voice, like, that is not adjusted with, like, special effects or anything. That is actually Billy West doing that with his voice.
I can see that.
And apparently the audio engineers thought there was a problem with the recording.
That's some talent there.
Yeah, just that crackle.
I wish I was an energy being.
I made the comment that energy being is like what every neckbeard sees himself as, a person of pure intellect and is far beyond physical interpretation. And it's like, maybe once you evolve past your physical form, you'll pick up the phone.
It's more the abstract body aspect I like.
Yeah, I can understand the appeal of being something that cannot be properly perceived by mortal eyes.
So, Cthulhuid horror.
Or, just...
You did not expect me to go there, did you?
No, I did not. Maybe I should have.
There's a lot of different things that are, like, cannot be comprehended, like, deities.
Gygas's attack. Gygas or Gigas? The alien from Earthbound.
Oh, yeah, Gygas, yeah.
And it's something people added as an aspect to Arceus when the silly beta designs for it were leaked.
Yeah, I would probably put this as my top episode so far, at the top of the list. Better than all the other ones have been pretty good, but I think this is the first like really, really good episode.
It is incredibly funny, although just Zap like I've been saying, he makes me in this episode. He makes me kind of uncomfortable, and that just brings it down a bit, in my opinion. But
yeah,
that's very much a personal thing.
I mean, personally, this was an okay episode, but I think I'm more interested in it for the sci-fi stuff than the story here.
Yeah, it's funny, but it also you kind of see what the writers are doing in terms of putting like actual sci-fi concepts through a comedic ringer.
Yeah, that's probably the best part.
Like they have this idea of the planet that's full of dark matter, and it was mined out, and it's like that's sci-fi. That's like legit. That's like a legit sci-fi premise.
Yeah, the great thing about the premise of Futurama is, you have this intergalactic shipping company, which means that they can basically go anywhere and do anything. So that opens up the potential for so many interesting stories. And despite its issues, this is the first episode where we really start to see that. So this is a great promise of things to come. If nothing else, this is where I think the series really genuinely gets started.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for listening to Space Podcast 3000. Your three voices of the future are Nova Altman, Doug Hancox, and Eden Valerie. The theme music is Voxel Revolution by Kevin MacLeod, licensed from filmmusic.io. Find it and hundreds of other free songs at incompetech.filmmusic.io. You can hear more episodes of Space Podcast 3000 on YouTube or at soundcloud.com/SpacePod3K. Follow us on Twitter at SpacePod3K. Be sure to join us next time as the Planet Express crew infiltrate a city of killer robots in fear of a bot planet.